All right, welcome to Old School. Cenk, Uygur, Ben Mankiewicz, Michael Shure. Obviously, Old School brought to you by shoptyt.com, where you can get this shirt. So that's most common question we get. I'll answer it for you. Yes, it's FDR. Okay.
Okay. Well, then you know what? I don't want one.
No. I know we got a good one because before the show, both Ben and Michael are like, I want one of those.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I was tooling around shoptyt.com right before, and we have a lot of interesting, weird, but good shirts. There's like 5 pages of shirts. Go check it out. And we have this too, the Batman Young Turks.
Are any of them limited edition? In other words, where you?
There are sometimes, yes, but then they're really gone.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
what would be a good bet for you guys is to bet like about it seems like once a year. I'm doing a good job. I purge a lot of clothes.
Yeah.
And like a year after getting this, will I purge that?
Oh, that's an interesting bet. No, when do you purge it? Over, under? I say no, you hang on to this one for 18 months.
Yeah, I think so because I put Kofefi into the purge pile. I was like, enough, I don't wear it. It's done.
Right.
It's done. And then I took it out.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Shoptyt.com.
Yeah.
All right, so now we've got 1,000 stories. They're all fun. Now, this show is built to be a podcast, so we don't do a lot of visual stuff except showing you the shirts. And apparently, this gentleman here from the Oakland A's, we'll get to him later.
Jack Cuss, down to business. It was a gift today from Michael. You bought it at a
junk shop.
Junk shop.
Well, that sounds right.
I'm an A's fan, and Jack Cuss was the ultimate 3 outcome player for a while. Like struck out, walked, or homered. That was it.
Well, okay, I can respect that.
And that there was a Jack Cuss bobblehead nights.
He hit 30 in a year, so he had one great.
Was he
year
the original Greg Luzinski?
Greg Luzinski was a more complete player than you recall and didn't hit as many home runs. But yeah, he was.
But he was fat though.
Yeah, he was.
But maybe not Polish.
His name was. You know what his nickname was?
No, Jack Cuss.
The Bull.
Oh yeah, I remember. No, I like anyone named the Bull, and I like anyone who is fat and is somewhat of an athlete. Okay, now all that being said, we're going to show you something. It's a slapping competition in Russia. That's how we're going to start. Okay. Now, when you see this, it's a little shocking given that this is the finals. Okay, we're in the finals of the Russian.
So these are the 2 best slappers.
Yes, and yes, it is what you think it is. And like, if you're a lib and you're gonna get offended that there's physical violence here, it's within the construct of a sport. It's not a sport we play here, but it's Russia.
Should we tell people the rules?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know what the rules are.
Okay.
And neither does anyone else.
Right.
And as you're gonna see here, it's not particularly sophisticated.
No, it's
but
not.
my guess is you're gonna love it, but do not try this at home.
Yeah.
Okay. As you're about to see. Watch. Somewhat decisive. Let's see if things get turned around here, okay?
Remember, the man on the left, this is the finals.
Oh, gone. No, yeah, I'm over there. No, X amount. But hold on, we're not done with the video. Keep it rolling.
Not insults. By the way, they're still standing around like they haven't. Okay, so then I have to bring it over here. Check out the other guy is going to get his hand raised in the air too. Okay. Like there's a sort of the guy can barely stand. There's the winner, and then the other guy holds it like, hey, yeah.
Yeah, no, I got news for you. You didn't win. Okay, and we're not even done yet. Okay.
Oh, no, keep it up.
No, keep it going. Keep it going. Okay, because this guy is not in good shape, man.
Yeah.
Those are 2 devastating slaps.
Yeah, can't go down the stairs, and it appears to be 2 stairs. Nope.
Okay.
It'd be great if he walked up to him and said, "Hey, great job."
Okay. That guy was the 2nd best slapper in Russia. Okay. So I don't know anyone who has dominated a sport as much as the champion Russian slapper that we just saw. Because not only did he slap the living out of the other guy. His head didn't even move on the first slap from a gigantic guy who's knocked out every other slapper in Russia.
He's most impressive as a slappee.
That's right. Yeah.
That's what's so crazy about it.
Yeah, he's like a granite statue, right?
Yeah.
And then I can't imagine the terror the loser felt before the second slap.
Oh.
I mean, every fiber of his body was like, how do I say, you know what? Congratulations. Well done. You got this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, normally I hang in there.
Right.
Normally.
Yeah.
No, but the worst part was when he measured him up the second time.
Yeah.
When he came up to his face
Yeah.
and then started to pull back. You know me, I love not giving up. I might have been like, you know what, wait, you know what though? I hear you. This is one instance where.
But it's like bringing the gun to the face and just holding it there for a second before.
Yeah, it was quite a thing. I watched it like 6 times in a row this morning. First of all, because you learn right off the bat, first of all, there's a slapping contest.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
And how is that not in the Olympics?
Right.
Every other thing is in the Olympics.
And how did you get to it?
It was on Twitter, obviously. Okay. Somebody tweeted something about it. So
there you go. Then that's it. I mean, come on. We have fun talking about curling, right? Now I went curling when we went to Colorado earlier this year. But are you going to watch curling or a slapping contest?
Because Cenk went curling, and it was like similar to when we went. There's the second.
Gone. No one's ever been.
Right. I like how the ref actually made a call.
Yeah. He's like, no, technical knockout. Yeah. Right. No, it's actually not technical.
And look at the crowd.
He needs smelling salts.
Look at the crowd.
Right.
All these children there.
Some with bad seats.
And the place is packed. And by the way, they're not even going crazy.
No.
Like they're like, oh, that was a normal slap knockout.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he got knocked out. It's not a big deal. Right. But from now on though, if I'm ever seeing like it's a debate and one person's getting killed, I'm gonna be like this. Okay. And if Bernie's about to make a point that's gonna knock somebody out, I'm gonna be like politically, don't do it in real life.
This is what ESPN was when it started, by the way.
That's right.
Remember that?
Yeah,
course, you know what? They might be better off going back to that.
I was gonna say,
so apparently this was not the first ever slapping contest, because our production team there, they found another one.
Okay,
this is we haven't seen this. So here's one from, I believe this is a slapping contest from 4 years ago. So this would be a 2015 slapping contest.
Okay.
Less well attended.
Yeah, this seems a little bit more
preliminary
amateur.
round. Okay, didn't move, but he likes it.
before it caught on.
Good one.
Okay.
Claps.
The other one has already had his hat knocked sideways.
All right.
Okay, my guess is this guy's gonna win. Let's see if it's true. Oh, geez, and Lord. Oh, God! Gone.
Wow.
No,
It's a slap.
Yeah. Well, you could tell that guy was gonna win because he didn't move. He was like the first guy. Like the guy slaps him. He's like, oh, that's fascinating. On the other hand, literally.
Also, I'm going to applaud you on a good slap, because no one's going to have another opportunity to watch it.
Instead of the arm wrestling thing, should we
have a slapping contest?
No, we should not. No, we should not.
We were talking upstairs about that was like 6 years ago or some 7? You meant more maybe.
More maybe.
Yeah, 7, easily 7 years ago.
That was at Current.
It was at Current, yeah.
So when did we go to Current? You know that off the top of your
head?
head?
2011 to 2013 at least.
So that could have been 2011. So anyway, so 2011, 2012. So something like at least 7 years ago, we had an arm wrestling tournament here, and Michael and I drew each other in the first round, and you had some arm injury to your right shoulder.
So I had to go with my
You're left-handed, and you are left-handed. So I wrestled you left-handed, and we had. I feel like we arm wrestled for 16 minutes.
Yeah, we arm wrestled forever, and it hurt me for months.
Yeah, months afterwards. I couldn't.
Well, now you can
literally though. I mean, I'm not saying it was a month. Oh, it was months that it hurt. It hurt for months. Like I felt it. I couldn't lift. I couldn't lift.
I had to use my other arm to raise the arm.
Yes, I remember that.
Like there was a lot of this.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, totally.
But now you both feel better because at least you don't feel like that guy.
That's right. Yeah.
Man, that was a hell of a slap. Okay, I feel like I had 1,000 topics, and I wrote some of them down actually, which is unusual for me. Yeah. Okay. So This is. We said we were going to give you guys a new word that we came up with.
Oh yeah, you
last
promised
time
that
around.
last week.
So
yeah.
let's do that. Okay.
Yeah, it's a good word. Cenk and I came up. Did we come up with this ourselves?
Yeah. It was as usual a collabo.
Yeah.
You said it, not quite recognizing what it was.
What it was. That's right.
Right, and then I added the somewhat obvious meaning after like a half second. Okay, so the word is, instead of momentum, no-mentum.
Oh.
Okay. So like, of course, there was a famous Joe-mentum, which means you come in fifth.
By the way, Joe-mentum, which is in fact no-mentum.
No, which is that's true. It's no-mentum.
But Joe-mentum is very specific.
That's
you
right.
have to come in fifth.
Right.
And you have to be named Joe.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, have to be a guy named Joe or a girl named Joe who comes in fifth.
Yeah, so that's of course Joe Lieberman famously said he had Joe-mentum and tied for third when in reality he was fifth and had no mentum at all.
No mentum.
And it wasn't like a tie. The tie for third, if I recall, was 12% in third, 10% in fourth, 9% in fifth.
Yeah,
and he was like, "It's a tie for third."
Like, that's not.
No, it isn't. It's fifth.
Right.
Yeah.
I got news for you. That's both Joe-mentum and no mentum.
That's right. Yeah.
And also, it would have been a terrible. He was the former vice president running in a state basically adjacent to his own. Third was terrible, right?
Oh my God, we have another opportunity this year for Joe-mentum.
Oh, that's
we do.
right.
Yeah, we have Joe-mentum.
That's right.
Sure.
Yeah,
And we have Klomentum.
We do have Klomentum.
when you finish 27.
When you finish behind the guy named Joe, you have Klomentum.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people are talking about Klobuchar. See, you know what really helped her was that negative story about how she treats her staff poorly. She now has a little bit more Joe-mentum than Gillibrand, who has Joe. No, okay. Anyway, so because Gillibrand actually, I thought she had a real chance. I had her in the Final Four in the 17 different versions of the Final Four that I've done, and I still say Gillibrand's going to finish way ahead of Klobuchar because she's more of a killer. But Klobuchar, like, partly, I don't know, progressives joking about it, probably not. But the story, mainly the story about how badly she treated her staff, and all of a sudden, maybe Klobuchar. I mean, she's at 1%. Don't get me wrong, but I'm still surprised.
I think when you're that poorly known, that I think again, it did make rounds. It was news. It was publicity in that case, and any even bad publicity is good publicity, and then you could spin that story to where it wasn't really bad publicity. It was arguably good, tough guy publicity.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, she spun it that way, and so I think it totally helped her. I think if she didn't have that story, no one is talking about. Then she's got no mentum and Klomentum, and nobody's talking about her.
She does. There are times in reading about Amy Klobuchar where and I know Michael objects to this word, and I respect the objection, but that there is for lack of a better idea right now, an establishment media that is so enamored of a Midwest Democratic presidential candidate that they can't help themselves but think, the Midwestern Democrat. It's the same thing that made them totally fall in love with Dick Gephardt in 2 different cycles and then have him.
And I also think access is a big part of it, right? So I think that you tend to do better stories when you have access to that person. And the candidates who don't give as much access are usually not getting as the same kind of press, and Klobuchar will talk to anybody now in Iowa, certainly, and so I think that
that's right. I'm sure that, of course, that's something to do with it.
There's something that plays into it.
So there's that. I was about to say famous. This is the least famous thing in the world. When because I've talked about it in 3 postgames, I think, is when I played high school football.
Oh yeah, sure.
I only actually read about this.
Hang on. Let me just see if it's trending. Let me look it up. Yeah.
At least I can laugh at myself. I have when some folks say that I have slight Trumpian tendencies from time to time, it's not wildly wrong.
Right.
It's just I'm at least cognizant of it. Anyway, so I had our coach had suited up because he was a relatively young guy for a practice, and I didn't like him, and he didn't like me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
this is football.
Football in high school, and this is the coach to give you context. Now he did this later, maybe partly related to this story, but I asked for a recommendation for Columbia. And at the time, Columbia had not won a football game in 10 years. And our high school team was nationally ranked, and I was a starting middle linebacker, okay? So almost by definition.
It's amazing, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
And my coach was like, nope, not giving you a recommendation. I'm like, they're 0-89 in the last 10 years. Like, nope, not giving it to you.
Wait, who's Owen? Oh, for Penn.
For Columbia.
For Columbia.
For Columbia.
Yeah.
Because I applied to a bunch of schools. I eventually went to Penn.
I got you.
Applied to
Right.
Columbia.
They had a famous losing streak.
That's right. Yeah, and I applied in the middle of that, and I was, honorable mention all county. I'm not saying anything, literally. Okay, but just to say, like, I'm not a terrible player, right?
Right.
And he's like, no, and I'm like, I won student athlete of the whole school of the county, right? Whatever, right? He's like, nope.
What does that say about the county, by the way? Like the all county middle linebacker on this great is not good enough to go to the worst football team in the country.
I know, he hated me. Okay, he actually made national news later, and I defended him anyway because I'm a man of principle. I'll get to that too in a sec.
So let's talk about Cenk high school football trending, because I typed in Cenk high school football into Twitter, and you're pretty famous because there's things.
There's actually things.
Yeah, one of them from March 9th. One of them from
So like a week ago.
10 days ago, 11 days ago. I don't know.
That's when you go look to make sure it's the same Cenk Uygur.
No, right. I'm pretty sure it is.
Actually, because there is a football player named Cenk who's famous now in the UK, but like football. But you typed in football as in American football.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Cenk high school football. You know what's real anti-Semitism? Right-wing evangelical Christians supporting Israel because they think it will lead to the death of whatever 2/3 of the Jews. Right? You typed that, and then somebody wrote Phil that remains tweeted, "Is this a thing?" And then this guy Heath wrote, "Bunch of crap. It's a conspiracy theory. The end times are going to be a real thing, but the rest is just, I don't know, chatter or something." And then this other guy, Michael Miller, writes, "Well, Cenk is an idiot. I often wonder if he played football without a helmet in high school."
Well, partly goes to the point of this story, okay?
Right.
And then in response to, I believe, this tweet from, maybe that's not you.
By the way, just to fill in the blank as you're looking for the second one, I think that the numbers were 25% of high school football players have brain damage. So it's like 50% of college players or something. And it's not 25. 25 is too high. It's like 10 or 15% of high school players have it too. So conservatives out there, run with that. Okay.
I don't know. So it doesn't take much to defeat Cenk in a political argument, like arguing with the smartest guy on the high school football team.
Oh yeah.
Well, there you have it. That's literally what it is.
That was in response.
You were good.
That was you saying in October, 71% of killings by extremists in the last decade in America were by right-wing extremists.
I love when I state facts and they're like, yeah, easy to beat you. Okay, then you would state a counterfact. Right?
Then we go back to April.
But I'm choosing not to, though. I'm choosing not to, but it would be super easy to beat you.
Uncle Mike, wartime conciliere, writes, "I was a year ahead of Cenk at East Brunswick High School."
Oh, really? Wait, what's his handle?
Wartime, Michael Pachelek. Pachelek.
Sounds like he's from my high school, but I don't know.
Let me see if I can get the whole tweet here. They don't all. I was a year ahead of Cenk at East Brunswick High School. He played football the way he plays politics. He played both sides of the ball.
I don't quite know what that means.
No,
it almost sounds complimentary.
Right, it sounds like a dig, but isn't.
And by the way, he's kind of wrong because I was the shittiest fullback you've ever seen. I could not find the whole of my life dependent on, which describes a lot of my high school
This looks
career.
like in reference to the This looks like, this next one looks like from July of 2016, from when Alex Jones had his little episode with us where we were all there for. "Jones spent all week trying to get punched. Cenk looks like the football players from my high school. Linebacker."
Well, you were, again, quite right.
Then some other things. I actually went to high school with Cenk. He was a decent football player. He still hits hard. From Conserve Don't Work. That was 2014.
Huh.
And
All
then,
these guys who went to high school with me, I had no idea. You know, we're on RNN in New York, and Andrew Whitman is a host on the network. Okay, so that's broadcast television, and we're about to do a hit together because he's teasing the Young Turks, and I'm going on his show on Friday. He's like, "Cenk, you know, my favorite teacher is John Calamano." I'm like, how do you know John Calamano? He's my favorite teacher, taught political science in high school. He's like, I was 2 years behind you at East Brunswick High School. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. So I've told this story, I've told a couple more times. We did have somebody from our team make the NFL. But we also had someone from our team sue Jimmy Johnson. So, but not the same guy.
Who was the punter? Josh Miller?
Josh Miller was on my team. And I took Pro and Joy to my old high school last year, I think. And there's only 2 jerseys hanging in the stadium, and one of them is Josh Miller's because he made the NFL. Right. He was a Super Bowl winning punter. He played for the Steelers, which is awesome, and he's currently a broadcaster for the Steelers.
Where did he go to college?
He went to Arizona State and was once the Pac-10 Player of the Week as a punter.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, Josh is an amazing guy.
Coach wrote him a recommendation.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Our mutual friend that we all know, Michael and I know better than you do, Cenk. But no, you know him from Florida, Jimmy Altman. Jimmy and I used to write. I hate him too. Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. I brought him up to Anna earlier this week, super randomly. What did he win? 9 or 13 Emmys?
Oh, he's won 18 Emmys. He's won a ton of Emmys. He was a TV reporter in Hartford. He's terrible.
He is a TV. He's a TV reporter there. He's not very
good at all.
At it.
He's there, but the one part they're not kidding about is he's got 18 Emmys.
Yeah.
That's true.
Look him up, Jimmy Altman.
He's an idiot.
So any of you could win an Emmy in Hartford if you wanted.
It just proves that. We're kidding.
Kind of.
No. Ben is.
Yeah. I'll tell the story that I told Anna about Jimmy in a second once you're done, of his first live hit ever, okay? And Jimmy's a great guy. He loved professional wrestling, grew up at around the same time as I did. So we used to, whenever he delivered, I was like, that was some SD Special Delivery Jones right there. Anyway, but yeah, go ahead.
So we would, he went to school with me through 7th grade, then he moved to New York. That's where he became friends with Michael, and then they were pages together at NBC, and then we had our internships TV together in Washington with the George Michael Sports Machine and with Glenn Brenner. And so, and then we both had careers in TV. We worked out together in Miami, but for a time we would write, at the end of the year, John Facenda, the great voice of the NFL, we would imagine that what his videos were of teams that went 2-14. And it was always inevitably, it was about the punters, right?
Yeah.
But on this day, Saints coach Wade Phillips would ask Russell Erxleben to punt 9 times. And each time, Erxleben's mighty leg delivered the ball high into the sky, deep into enemy territory,
So, okay, that is, I have to confess, that is a hilarious concept to do NFL films on a 2-14.
Yeah. But on this day, Erxleben's booming punts weren't enough,
Again.
Was Jimmy good at it?
No, he was terrible at it.
Yeah.
Josh also played for the Patriots, and so he was a great punter. Anyway, the guy who sued Jimmy Johnson was our quarterback, Brian Forte. He was the #1 ranked quarterback in the country. And Jimmy Johnson was a coach at University of Miami back then, convinced Brian to go to Miami over Stanford. Terrible mistake. But Brian made him, and he did have kind of like a dad who cared a lot about him and wanted to make sure he was all right. And so he was very involved, okay? And they made Jimmy Johnson promise that he would not go to the NFL. And then as soon after Brian signed or whatever, committed to University of Miami, Jimmy Johnson went to the NFL. You know why? Because he got an offer from the NFL to coach the Dallas Cowboys.
So what happened?
Like, on the other hand, I promised Brian Forte's dad.
Right.
It's not a conversation that happened in Jimmy Johnson's house.
Did the lawsuit even happen?
It happened. No, he sued. And then University of Miami then got Dennis Erickson as the coach. Did not start Forte like they said they were going to. Instead, they
sued him.
Yeah, and so he sued University of Miami and Jimmy Johnson.
Wow.
And then he transferred to Rutgers, right?
Who was the Italian kid who started at Miami and then won the Heisman?
Vinny Testaverde.
No.
Doug Flutie.
Gino Tortelli.
Torretta.
Gino Torretta. That's it. Thank you.
Good teamwork.
That was
Italian
a good collabo.
Gino Torretta.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So then
Not sure Italian was the way to go, but all right.
yeah, no, that's a fun way of saying it. So then he transferred to Rutgers, our home
University of New Jersey.
Yeah, is that right? Is it?
It is the
technically
University of
University. Okay. And he transferred there because they played the first football game there. No, that's not where I went. So he's like, well, it's okay. I'm going to go back to Rutgers, where I'm from, and at least I'll start there. And the starter there was Ray Lucas, who also went to the NFL. So Forte never started in college.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? That's the only starter I think Rutgers has ever had in the NFL from a quarterback position. Happened to be. So he ran into a Heisman winner and an NFL quarterback at Rutgers. And so he never made it to the NFL. But our punter did. And the only reason our punter did was because Josh was not a punter. Actually, Brian Forte was our punter. But in my senior year, Brian's junior year, he was #1 quarterback in the country. So we're like, the coach is like, oh, I got to pull him from being a punter. That's I don't want him getting hurt. Let's use the irrelevant kicker. Josh, you go in and punt.
And then
then the rest is Patriot
punting,
and Steeler history.
The rest is punting history.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
So anyway, this all started with a story that I don't remember the conclusion to, but I do remember the middle of. So coach doesn't like me. I don't like him. He suits up one day. And he's like, it's okay, you can hit me, right? And everybody's like, oh, come on, really? And I was like, oh yeah, okay. And so he goes across the middle. Remember, I'm middle linebacker. He goes across the middle for a pass. And I laid him out like he was second in a Russian slapping contest. I mean, so when he ran into me, he had no Mentum. Okay, so he had to collect himself a little bit, right? But the good thing about him
in a movie, he would respect you and would write you the
write the recommendation.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, to his credit,
But you wouldn't have been cast in the part. So.
That's right. Yeah. And Chris Pine as Cenk Uygur.
No, you need someone. You need Chris Pratt, a little meatier, right? A little bigger for linebacker. But to his credit, he must have told a story to the local broadcasters who do it on public access. The high school games carried on. Because I didn't tell him, and so he must have told them, I suppose. So, and after the games, we of course, all of us recorded on VHS back then, right? And then we rush home and watch ourselves.
Right.
And the announcers they tell the story. Hey, Coach Borden, suited up this week and nobody would hit him. Except that Cenk Uygur, he'll hit anybody. So that's the famous story.
That is famous. So then let me wrap this up it's not the last Twitter mention of you for Cenk high school football on Twitter. This is in response to this tweet from you, sent, it looks like this year, in February. For Democrats who were concerned about Syria withdrawal, parentheses, there are legitimate reasons for concerns. Are you also opposed to withdrawing from Afghanistan? Because that would make no sense from a progressive position. If you oppose it because Trump is for it, that's very troubling. I don't really know what you're saying, but I got it. You're making a political point about Syria. It's not really what Twitter's for.
Twitter's not for making political points.
Right.
Just so you know. Okay.
And then Mr. Weeks responds, I don't know how this is under, and now I see. Mr. Weeks responds to that by quote tweeting you, and then he says, shut the up, you pervert.
And you see, that's what Twitter's for.
Right.
To which old friend Uncle Mike, wartime consigliere, says, I was a year ahead of Cenk at East Brunswick High School. He says it again. We didn't know each other well. He was a decent football player, but like most of us, kept his politics to himself. I was a fan of his show for a while, but that's long over. No place in my life for Bernie Bratz.
Oh, okay. So he's kind of a more establishment Democrat.
That's right. Yeah.
It appears. All right. Well, hey, look, you're a wartime consigliere.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
I respect that.
Right.
I like that the response to your thing about Syria was shut the up, you pervert.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, look, if I was Devon Newness, I would have sued that guy.
That's right. Yeah.
Dude, he sued Devon Newness's mom. That's just the saddest, weirdest, most hilarious
he really sued Devon? He sued the Twitter handle.
The Twitter handle, Devon Newness's mom and Devon Newness's cow, Devon Newness's grape. And you know what's starting to happen now?
Yeah, of course.
No, not only. First of all, Devon Newness's
I saw
cow.
the Cenk Uygur's cow is a thing.
Oh, of course it is.
Oh, is it?
Now it is, right?
Yeah.
And there's an Anna Kasparian cow. Devon Newness's cow has passed Devon Newness for Twitter followers.
That's great.
Yeah, and now in the Young Turks member section, there's Devon Newness's all over. There, right. Yeah. So I can't remember the guy from today, but there was like Devon Newness.
Real quick on that, so I
etc.
My wife and I were up inexplicably late last night, and we're flicking around, changing channels like never before. We watched a little of Chris Hayes, All In with Chris Hayes.
Yeah.
And I just think I like Chris Hayes quite a bit, and I just think it's great that Chris Hayes and his aunt have the same glasses prescription, so he can use her glasses if he misplaces his. We're watching the show, and then he did some really good stuff, and we flip around, and I watched that One American Network or
OAN,
like the Fox News. Is
it's
not
owned by
quite,
the guy, yeah.
Fox.
Well, now we know your ringtone, and it's kind of fun.
It's the Rockford Files.
Yeah. It's very fitting for you.
When you're a classic movie host, when James Garner calls, it actually plays his theme.
Could you imagine he's got the theme of every old actor when they call, right? That'd be awesome. I can't cut you off, man. Okay, so after you're done with this, we'll let the YouTube
I'm almost done. Where was I? Oh, yeah, so we watched the channel, and they're talking about they're more conservative than Fox.
Yeah.
Not so much more conservative, they're more conspiratorial. They're crazy. It's a crazy.
They're crazy.
Owned,
they're
right?
also OAN,
They forgot the self part. It's self-owned.
And they're well funded.
Yeah, they seem well. It's very. They're
really a conservative group, well funded.
Yeah, it's weird.
Huh, I didn't see that coming.
And but they were having a conversation with some reporter who was like their expert on everything, or some political expert. It was horrible.
Was he on their medical aid team?
Garland. I don't remember if that's the name of the host. I can't. Anyway, whoever the show was, and they did the Devon Newness story, and it was like, well, this is going to be very interesting to see how this turns out. Interesting. He's chosen to sue Twitter for $250 million because of all the the liberal Twitter and the blacking out of conservatives and the shadow banning of Twitter. But they just took it completely seriously. Not one moment of irony or laughing. They think they treat it like a real news story.
Yeah, that's so sad.
Yeah.
To live a humorless life like that, it's the saddest thing. Okay.
Oh, but they did have a lot of Elizabeth Warren Native American jokes.
Are you serious?
Oh, they had a lot of about.
Okay, but that's I made a joke about that the other day on the show, and it is like the conservative comedians are like, and that guy's black, yeah, and he's worse than us. That's not a joke. It's not a joke. Like there has to be a punchline. Like they think Pocahontas. That's a racist name for Elizabeth Warren. That's so funny. No, it's not. There's no punchline.
They said, well, in the audience softball questions, an African-American woman asked her about reparations. And then at one point, the guy said, well, I don't want to go off the reservation here. And they were like,
okay, God. I mean, we live in.
It was great. It was 3 minutes. I got everything I needed to know about.
You don't have to ever watch again.
I never have to watch.
Progressives now say off the reservation is an offensive phrase.
Yeah.
Conservatives are like, off the reservation, this is the funniest thing I've ever heard. Like, I mean, that's the worlds we live in. Totally different. Anyway, all right, look, YouTube guys, much love. tyt.com/join. Like what you see? Of course you did. It was old school. So click the subscribe button below, and don't forget to ring the bell to never miss another video from the Young Turks.